Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be another crochet tutorial where I will be showing you how to crochet this adorable little Tom Servo. For most of this pattern he is crocheted in the continuous rounds except for his hands and top of his arms. They are crocheted in rows. Linked in the description box below, I have a couple of tutorials showing you the beginner basic stitches of how to make amigurumi crochet and a beginner tutorial on how to make the magic ring as well. So to get started, here are the materials we will be using. We'll be using scissors, polyfill stuffing, a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook, a stitch marker, a yarn needle, and also a small piece of cardboard. This is totally optional. If you choose this option, you will also need glue. I just use Gorilla Glue. For yarns, we will be using Big Twist in the color black, Big Twist yarn in the color medium gray, Big Twist yarn in the color soft gray. I am missing my label here, but it was Big Twist in the color white. And also another label missing, this was I Love This Yarn brand in the color cranberry. So we are going to begin by making the top of the head first. We are going to start with a magic ring. And we are going to put 6 single crochets in it. And once you have finished those 6, you can pull the yarn tail and close up your magic ring. Now for round 2, we are going to be making an increase 6 times. So we will just be making an increase in each of the 6 stitches we just did. At the end of round 2, you should have 12 total stitches. At this point, I would begin using my stitch markers and mark the first stitch that I did for that first increase. I always put my stitch markers at the beginning of each round, and I highly recommend doing that so you don't lose count. So for round 3 now, we are going to be crocheting in the back loop only, and we are going to be making 12 single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the first stitch of round 3 and just continue working around and make sure you only pull up that back loop. And once we reach that last stitch, we are going to finish off our work, and we are going to leave a long yarn tail for sewing. So now that part is finished, we are going to set it aside. And now using the soft gray yarn, we are going to be making the globe part of the head. We will begin by making a magic ring and putting 6 single crochets in it. After you complete those 6, you can pull your yarn tail and close up the magic ring. For round 2, we are going to be making an increase 6 times. So we're going to be making an increase stitch in each one of the 6 stitches that we just did. At the end of round 2, you are going to have a total of 12 stitches. You want to make sure to mark your first stitch of round 2. So for round 3 now, we are going to be making 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. I will go ahead and put my stitch marker back in, and that will mark that first single crochet. And then I will make an increase, and that sequence is going to be repeated for the rest of round 3. So it will be repeated a total of 6 times. At the end of round 3, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Since the rest of the round is just repeating this sequence for the rest of this round, I will go ahead and speed up the video a little bit. If you need to pause it until you get to the end of round 3, you can go ahead and pause it here. For round 4, we are going to be making 2 single crochets and then 1 increase. We will repeat this 6 times for the entire round 4. At the end of round 4, you should have a total of 24 stitches. So this is my second single crochet of round 4, and then I will make that increase. And from here, just keep repeating until the end of round 4. You can pause the video here. I will go ahead and speed through the rest of round 4. So now we are on round 5. Rounds 5 and 6 are going to be the exact same thing. We are just going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch. So each round should end up with 24 single crochets. Since both of these rows are the exact same thing, you can go ahead and pause the video here and work up through the end of round 6. For round 7, we are going to make 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease. We are going to repeat this pattern 6 times, which will be the entire round 7. So I go ahead and mark my first stitch. This is my second single crochet, and then I will make a decrease. And just keep repeating that until the end of round 7. For round 8, we are going to do 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. We are going to repeat that 6 times. At the end of this round, you should have 12 total stitches. The last stitch of this round is going to be a color change. So we will be changing from the lighter gray back to the cranberry color. So here on that last stitch of round 8, we are going to begin the stitch using the soft gray color, and we are going to complete the stitch using the cranberry color. That will be our color change, and we will begin working round 9 using the cranberry color. So for round 9, we are just going to make one single crochet in each of the 12 stitches. So at the end of round 9, you should have a total of 12 stitches. So once I have reached the end of round 9, I am going to tie the ends together from where I did the color change. I just make a double knot using the gray and the beginning of the cranberry colors. For rounds 10 and 11, they are both the same thing, one single crochet in each stitch. So each of those 2 rounds are going to end up with 12 total stitches. You can pause the video here and work up through the end of round 11. So for round 12, we are now going to make one single crochet and then one increase. We're going to repeat that 6 times for the entire round 12. At the end of round 12, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Round 13, we are going to make one single crochet and then one increase again. We are going to repeat this for 9 times. At the end of this round, you should have a total of 27 stitches. This will also be our last round. We are going to finish off at the end of this round. And after that last stitch, we are going to finish off our work and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. So now we are going to be working on the body. We will begin using the cranberry yarn and making a magic ring and putting 6 single crochets in the magic ring. After you finish the 6, you can pull the yarn tail and close up the magic ring. For round 2, we are going to be making 6 increases. That's just one increase in each of the 6 stitches that we've done so far. At the end of round 2, you should have a total of 12 stitches. Round 3, we are going to be making 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. We will be repeating that 6 times. At the end of round 3, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Now for rounds 4 through 9, they are all going to be the same. It's going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So each round should have a total of 18 single crochets. Since these are all the same, I will go ahead and work through them off camera. You can pause the video here and work up through the end of round 9. So now we are ready for round 10. We are going to be making 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. We will repeat this 6 times. At the end of round 10, you should have a total of 12 stitches. This will be our last round of the body, so at the end of round 10, you can finish off your work and leave a long yarn tail. And that completes the body portion. You can go ahead and set that aside for now. We will now begin working on the tops of the arms. Using the white yarn, we are going to make a slip knot, and then we are going to make a chain 4. And now we are going to begin working in that second chain from the hook, and we are going to make a single crochet in each one of those chains back across, so we'll be making a total of 3 single crochets, working back along the chain that we just made. Once you finish those 3, we are going to make a chain 1 and turn our work. This is now row 2, and we are going to work 3 single crochets. So from here we are going to work around the entire border of the piece, and each time you get to a corner you want to make an increase in each corner. So we have worked down the side. Now we are going to be working back across the opposite side of the first chain that we did. And now we will be working up the other side. And then finally back across the top again. And for this last round, we are going to go around and put 1 single crochet in each of the stitches again. Once you have completed the last stitch, you want to make a slip stitch, and then we will finish off our work and leave a long yarn tail. And you will be needing to make 2 of these. So now we will be working on the arms. We are going to make a magic ring again using the white yarn, and we are going to make 6 single crochets in it. Once you have finished that, you can pull the yarn tail and close up the magic ring. For round 2, we are just going to be making 1 single crochet in each of the 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, you should have 6 total stitches. For round 3, we are going to be doing 6 single crochets again. The last stitch of round 3 is going to be a color change to the medium gray color. So on this last stitch of round 3, we are going to begin the stitch using the white yarn, and we are going to finish the stitch using the medium gray yarn. So now for round 4, we are going to continue using that gray yarn, and we are going to make 6 single crochets. So for round 5, we are going to be using the front loop only, and we are going to make 6 single crochets. Once I get my first stitch marked, I'm going to go ahead and cut the white yarn and tie up the ends with the gray yarn from where I made the color change. So for rounds 6 and 7, they are still going to be the same thing. We are only going to be using those front loops only and making 6 single crochets in each round. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work up until the end of round 7, remembering to use those front loops only. So here at the end of round 7, we are going to finish off our work and leave a long yarn tail. So I will just go ahead and trim the extra yarn tails that are inside of the arm. I do not stuff the arms though. And after that, your arm is done. You will need to make 2 arms. So now we will be working on the hands. We are going to make a slip knot, and we are going to chain 3. Now for round 2, we are going to begin in that second chain from hook, and we are going to make 2 single crochets, and then we will chain 1 and turn our work. For row 3, we will be skipping that chain stitch, and we will be making 2 single crochets, and then we will make a chain 1 and turn our work. For row 4, we will be skipping the chain stitch and going right into a decrease. And now we will begin working down the side border of the piece. We will be making 2 slip stitches. And now we will be making 2 chains. And then we want to make a single crochet in that second chain from hook. And then you want to make another slip stitch back into the side border again. And now we are back at the beginning of row 1, and we are going to be working back across the unused opposite side of the chain, and we will be making 2 single crochets. After that, you can finish off your work and leave a long yarn tail. And that completes his hand. You will need to make 2. So now we are going to be working on the bottom skirt part. We are going to begin in the white yarn. We are going to make a slip stitch, and we are going to be crocheting this right onto the bottom of the body. So we are going to attach our yarn using a single crochet. This will count as our first single crochet of round 1, and then we are going to make an increase. We are going to repeat this around round 1 6 times. At the end of this round, you should have 18 stitches. For round 2, we are going to be making 2 single crochets and then 1 increase. We are going to repeat that around 6 times. At the end of round 2, you should have a total of 24 stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here. I will speed through the rest of round 2. and come back to the video at the end of round 2. For round 3, we are going to be making 3 single crochets and then 1 increase, and repeating that all through round 3 6 times. At the end of round 3, you should have 30 total stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work up through the end of round 3. For round 4, we are going to be making 4 single crochets and then 1 increase. That will be repeated for the entire round 4 6 times. At the end of round 4, you should have a total of 36 stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work up through the end of round 4. For round 5, we are just going to be making 1 single crochet in each stitch. So round 5 will be a total of 36 single crochets. The last stitch of round 5, we are going to be making a color change from the white yarn to the black yarn. So you can go ahead and pause the video here and work through the end of round 5. So here at the end of round 5, we are going to make our color change. We are going to begin the stitch with the white yarn, and we are going to finish the stitch with the black yarn. So round 6 is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. Round 6 will have a total of 36 single crochets. You can finish off your work at the end of round 6 and leave a long yarn tail. So now we will be working on the very bottom. We are going to begin with a magic ring using the black yarn, and we are going to make 6 single crochets in it. For round 2, we are going to be making 6 increases. At the end of round 2, you should have a total of 12 stitches. You can go ahead and pause here and work through the end of round 2. For round 3, we are going to be making 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeating that 6 times. At the end of round 3, you should have 18 total stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here and finish up round 3. Round 4, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeating that 6 times. At the end of round 4, you should have 24 total stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work up through the end of round 4. For round 5, we are going to be making 3 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeating that 6 times. At the end of round 5, you should have a total of 30 stitches. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work up through the end of round 5. For round 6, we are going to be making 4 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeating that 6 times. At the end of round 6, you should have a total of 36 stitches. At the end of round 6, you can go ahead and finish off your work and leave a long yarn tail. So to begin sewing together now, we are going to thread the yarn onto our needle on the very top part that we first did, and we are going to begin sewing that onto the head. You can pin this into place as you sew to make it a little bit easier, but you just want to sew all the way around the bottom, and we do not add any stuffing in it. Once I finish sewing on, I will pull my yarn ends down through the bottom. And now we want to begin to stuff the head. So now we are going to sew on his little mouth piece. I am using the medium gray. I just make basically a plus sign. I go in with a stitch vertically first, and then I make a smaller horizontal stitch across it. After that, I will cut my extra yarn and tie the ends together. You can now add more stuffing to the head area. So now we are going to sew the head onto the body. I am using the yarn tail from the bottom of the head part, and we are just going to place it on top of the body and sew it around. You want to kind of leave like a lip area where we did the last row of the head. You kind of want that left sticking out. So I sew on from like one row up from that. Once I have sewn all the way around, I put my yarn tails down through the body and finish stuffing the entire body at this point. To sew together the arms, the first thing we are going to do is thread your yarn onto the medium gray, and we want to close up the bottom of the arm by just stitching straight across it. After that, we will now thread our yarn onto the hand yarn tail, and we will sew the hand onto the bottom gray part of the arm. After you have finished sewing the hand on, you are going to want to weave your yarn back up through the top of the arm. And now we are going to sew the little top portion of the arms onto the top of the arm. Once you have that sewn on, your arm is now complete. You will need to weave in all of the extra ends, but leave one yarn tail to sew the arm to the body. So now we are going to be sewing the arm to the body. You want to make sure that you have the thumb facing forward on both of these arms when you sew them on. And you are just going to sew them on to the sides of the body. So once you have now sewn on both arms and weaved in all of your ends, we are now going to sew the front details on his body. I just make 2 vertical lines using the medium gray yarn. And once those are sewn on, you can tie your ends together. Now we are going to take our cardboard piece and we are going to trace the bottom circle onto the cardboard, and then we are going to cut that out into the size of the circle, just slightly smaller than what will fit on the bottom crocheted piece. So I glue mine with the brown side facing down. And you also want to make sure that your yarn that you pulled the magic ring with is also going to be on the inside. And I glue it straight on to the bottom of the bottom piece. So now we are going to thread the black yarn onto our yarn needle, and we are going to go and make vertical stitches. I make 6 of them around the white base. Once you have made it all the way around, you're going to want to cut your yarn and tie your ends together. So now we are going to thread our yarn onto the bottom piece. and we are going to begin sewing that onto the bottom of the base. They both have the same amount of stitches, so you can just go around and sew each stitch together. We only sew about halfway around, and then we will do our final stuffing of the bottom of the body. Now before we finish sewing the bottom together, we are going to add the last bit of stuffing to the very bottom. And then we are going to finish up sewing that closed. At the end, we will make a knot and then weave our ends back into the body. And with that, he is now done. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.